Welcome everybody here and on the stream. Appreciate you taking some time today. Have this discussion around AI and agents. Very exciting time for contractors overall. It was already exciting before the AI agents came in, but now it's getting even better. Let's get going here. Today we're going to talk about again something that is very new to 2026, 2025. And I think what we're beginning to see, especially for contractors, is usable AI. So moving beyond actual chats and using ChatGPT, but actually having AI do work for you as an employee would normally do. Before I get rolling here, a couple of things I just want to make sure that I'm super clear. I kind of always bring it up when I'm talking about AI. What I find a lot of is guys are chasing shiny objects when it comes to AI. There's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of time wasted, and a lot of energy exerted on useless AI. So today, for the sake of our conversation, I want to make sure that I'm pointing you in the right direction of AI that's useful, practical today, and that actually has bearing on your bottom line. Okay. So we want to look at some of the roles that tend to be higher turnover, maybe a little bit lower skill set. This isn't to replace your field staff, but it is to either make them stronger, possibly replace some of the admin to make your admin a super admin. All right. But yet have I seen a fully autonomous AI that can completely take over a higher level position. It just doesn't exist yet. Soon maybe, but not as of yet. But that doesn't mean there isn't some very good value to get back. So let's go with that in mind. And remember, you want to try and reduce the shiny objects when it comes to AI and reduce the burnout. So what most contractors think is one more hire will fix the chaos. I just need a CSR to answer the phone, a bigger crew, bigger company, and training is just the cost of growing. These are all statements that I've heard quite recently. In fact, I try to write them down as I hear them, and it's very common. So, what's actually happening here? And again, in terms of looking for the lowest hanging fruit and where to start your journey if you're just starting out, or to focus if you're further along in your journey, is taking into consideration each hire adds three new problems. All right. An AI agent answers 24/7, zero ghosting. Okay. It's lean, it's automated, and it beats the big bloat. AI agents never quit and never call in sick. I should actually retract that. I have had an AI agent quit, but they can be easily replaced. Okay, so let's take a look at an area that I'm quite fond of in using AI, and especially AI agents, is exactly in the hiring process. Most contractors know hiring is a challenge in the best of times, but they don't really associate how much cost actually goes into making a single hire. So for a single hire, be it admin, be it internal, all right, it runs on average about $4,700 in cost, right? So when you start to include all of your subscriptions and advertising marketing for that position, training, onboarding, and again, that's not really a guarantee of anything. These are high turnover labor positions. In fact, it becomes almost a treadmill for some companies. I've seen it firsthand where either they're settling for someone that's underperforming or they're turning over staff consistently. So 57% of new hires quit within 90 days. So you train them and they ghost you, and we go into this repeat cycle, right? 70% of contractors can't find labor. The labor shortage isn't going away anytime, all right? And we want to kind of take advantage of some of the AI agents that are available. So out of curiosity, maybe you guys can give me a one in the chat so I know how to take this next section for you. How many of you guys are actively using an AI agent in your business currently? How many of you guys are actively using an AI agent? Give me a one in the chat, just so I know if I get into technical. Usually I don't like to get too technical with stuff, but for the sake of today, if we have some people that are actively using AI agents, okay, not too many of you guys then. All right. For a lot of you, this is new, good concept. All right. But the human costs your money you don't have. All right. So agents cost less than your phone bill, which is pleasant. We can post a job ads about $300, interview 8 people, 12 hours wasted right there. Hire and train for 3 weeks, about $3,500 if we're going to put in a reasonable amount of cost for your time or your team's time. And then we get the ultimate quits in 90 days or under a year. and we get to start it all over again. Total cost about 7K. All right, one bad hire. And you're also back to square one. Now, this is where we want to start to maybe rethink the process and where AI can be helpful for us. So if we spin up an AI agent, takes, again, you can get them relatively easy, especially if you have a little bit of skill for this. Takes about 2 hours, costs between $50 and $300. It never actually quits, works 24/7, holidays included, trained once, and follows the script perfectly. Might run you about $300 a month and scales without hiring. Wonder how many of you guys would be interested in scaling without hiring? How many of you guys have that on your 2026 goal list? Okay. None? Oh, yeah, for sure. All right. So again, where we want to be really smart about our approach to this, all right, is again focusing in on the AI agents that have developed to the point where they're actually returning value. Okay. And I stress this over and over again. There is plenty of distraction AIs, plenty of things that are false claims. Ultimately, the best number one place that I've found and that I have implemented with clients is the phone. All right. So a phone agent answers calls, books every job, and never has a bad day. All right. So I'll stress this with these particular agents, a phone agent would be primarily for transactional conversations. I've had very good success using them in service departments. I've had good success using them actually in the hiring process for 15-minute interviews. Definitely after hours or picking up any overflow, they work relatively well, but they tend to be very good in transactional conversations where somebody is trying to get a quote or make a request for you, and they're generally shorter conversations. There are claims out there that these things can close deals and all things like that, which is possible. I won't take it completely off the table, but it takes a great deal of training and time and energy and having a really solid base and understanding of sales in the first place, which I would say the majority of contractors just don't have the time or resources for. All right. So again, in terms of looking for the low-hanging fruit here, we want to be putting them in our transactional conversations, picking up the phone, right? Picks up every call. Let me just put everyone on mute here. Maybe one sec. All right. Books estimates straight into your calendar, which is a very nice feature that can be helpful, especially for guys that are also maybe working on the tool still. All right. Doesn't miss any of those calls. They actually are now finally sounding like a human. All right, which again, that's a big development in the last 6 months. The technology has really become much better in sounding human. And for the first time, they actually have a memory, which has been a very good advancement that we're taking advantage of here at Contractor AI, where again, you can hang up with it, call it right back, and it's going to remember the conversation and keep certain data points. Okay. It costs much less than a part-time CSR for one day. All right. So again, if you have a CSR or if you have someone answering phones, again, you're paying a human wage. The phone agent will outperform them by quite a big factor. However, once again, I'll stress it to you and be real with you guys. I wouldn't be using them as frontline sales just yet. There's just too many ways to trip them up. And generally, again, people don't want to buy from AI. They don't trust it quite yet. All right. Again, another place to implement agents now and to get the best return on your value or return on your money is in the follow-up. I would say the majority of contractors suck at this. All right. And the majority of contractors leave a lot of money sitting on the table in unclosed deals. All right. Miscommunications, missed opportunities, simply because they don't get back to their customers in time, or they don't follow up, or they don't continue conversations. So a great place to have a follow-up agent. Texts every lead in under 30 seconds. All right. So well within the 5-minute rule, handles the back and forth until they're booked. All right. So has a memory, can recall conversations that have been had in the past. All right. Follows up 7 times over 90 days, no nagging. Hands the hot leads to you only when ready to buy, or to a human that will take over on the sales front. Again, you won't hear me saying that they will sell over chat. In some situations, I'll make a simple exception for this one. In home services, if you're doing emergency or service plumbing, electrical, HVAC, there are some use cases for them there. I would say they still need a little bit more time to develop on that end. And again, we'll see more and more of these opportunities coming up. Great time to get into it. Again, getting through the early stages of this and having it implemented into your business is going to give you a very unfair advantage over the coming years. So, the admin agent, again, one of my personal favorites for doing those tasks that nobody should be doing, right? I think data entry and things like invoices with a good solid system, of course, all right, certain types of paperwork or administrative stuff, those tasks that tend to fall into that $10 to $20 an hour range, all right, will no longer exist into the future. It just doesn't make any sense. All right. So again, sending invoices and chasing payments automatically. What a great place to use an admin agent. Very big fan of this. I don't want my internal people doing it. Again, not that I want to take their jobs. I feel like if they didn't have to do those things, they could focus on things that are far more important and valuable to the business. All right. And the truth be told, an AI agent doesn't get nervous around asking people for money. I assure you that, and does it very consistently. So again, we've seen it over and over again. It outperform somebody that's on the human side in terms of getting these administrative tasks done. It files receipts and tracks expenses, books mileage. All right. Again, a very powerful place to do it. I think anybody that is struggling to get their receipts and bills and purchase orders and stuff tracked, great place to use it. All right. And again, not really overly complicated to get set up. It is able to generate purchase orders for suppliers. All right. Generate job notes, flag things when they're out of order. I love that personally. I have an agent that gives me updates and reports on a daily basis. All right. Flags certain processes in our business, lets us know ahead of time so we don't find out too late where we can't take any action. All right. Wraps it up into a clean report. All right. I couldn't get clean and really good quality reports from my people at the best of times. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I no longer suffer with that issue in any of my companies, to be honest with you. And it's a great place again to implement it where you're probably not strong in the first place. And it gives you enormous return, enormous value, allows you to run your business more data driven. All right. So again, doesn't really take a human position, I would say, but it does do that work that we know we should do, but probably aren't doing. So before I go any further, anybody have any questions? Just feel free to unmute yourself. I'd love to have a discussion. We don't have that many people on today. So if you see anything or want me to explain anything a little bit more thoroughly, I'm more than happy to. I'm capturing our notes. Record. Okay. So the next place, and actually for anybody that's here, we're going to be doing a joint webinar with JobTread next week, Wednesday, I believe. Maybe we'll throw some details in the chat for you guys if you're interested. But the big one that we've had the best ROI, I would say, next to our frontline sales and phone, has been the recruiting and the onboarding agent. Okay. Really powerful. Again, most guys don't realize that candidates today expect the same as your customers do. All right. So speed to lead matters. All right. A lot of contractors are still running their recruiting and hiring process like it's 1950 and people just stand around waiting for jobs. Okay. That's not the situation, and nor will it be for the foreseeable future. What we're seeing is a huge increase in applicants with less and less qualified applicants in that process. And that's from all platforms. Okay. And I can tell you 2 years ago, we had it at about 45 applications to make one single hire. All right. And I thought that was a lot. Today it's around 65, and that's making a top quality hire. Who's sorting through them? Who's screening the prospects? Who's making sure that your time's protected and that you're only interviewing highly qualified candidates? And I think this is where a lot of employers are missing the opportunity here. All right. And having a warm bench at all times, having a continuous recruiting process, because they ultimately are doing a lot of manual busy work in their process. So AI, amazing place, and in the onboarding as well, it can follow directly through. All right. And like I said, it books only the qualified interviews. Okay, sends structured scorecards. I would say one of the best places aside from your frontline sales where you can directly attribute ROI to, this would be my third in line for that. Okay, marketing agents. It's something that's really become beneficial, especially in the last 3, 6 months, is just the quality of marketing that they can do. Now, I will say openly and honestly, they do not replace strategy. Okay. They have a very difficult time connecting directly with customers without you knowing your customer first. Okay. So again, a lot of sales, a lot of marketing is based on emotions and people's buying habits. All right. AI doesn't have emotions, doesn't have feelings. Okay. It hasn't sold personally to your customers. And we are still in the people to people business. However, when you teach it, when you give it good quality directions, it can create good quality content. Okay. So, couple of things here. Again, is it everything it's being hyped up to be? I would say definitely not. It's good at doing what you give it to do. Outside of that, I would put it at a very entry level administrative level. They're not going to be, if you're not familiar with marketing and you're not personally skilled at it, you will probably get mediocre results. All right. But it does get content out there. So something's better than nothing. All right. So for guys that have never done any content, haven't really got a good grip on it and want to get stuff out, great place to do it. Great place to start. Good place for ideas. What I love about it now is the agent can post across all the platforms. All right. Give you reminders, write you scripts. And if you really lock in your marketing, you're really sure of what you're doing, they can be enormously helpful in doing a lot of the legwork, the research, and things along those lines. In terms of copy, again, I think we can all pretty easily identify what AI copy looks like and sounds like and feels like. There's lots of other tools out there that can more humanize it, but as soon as I hear it, I can identify it. Doesn't say that you can't use it in certain places, but again, another place you want to really be focused on supervising your agent if you're going to use one or deploy one. Super important. There is, in fact, no such thing as a unsupervised AI. Right. I want to make sure that everybody currently, all right, everybody understands this. There is no such thing as an unsupervised AI, or nor should there be. Okay. So don't think that we can set these things up and then just forget them. That's bad. All right. We have to be on top of them if you're going to use them, just like an employee. All right. They can work for very monotonous tasks and stuff like this, but if you're not watching them, they can get off track just like a human can. Okay. So if we were to just take these few things here, all right, how many of you guys could benefit from less phone calls, more consistent marketing, a recruiting pipeline, right? Doing some of those tasks that maybe you shouldn't even have a human doing. All right. And I think there's actually a market for it now. And I think it's emerging where we realize that it's not a great use of anybody's human time to do certain tasks in the business, but they need to get done. Follow up, admin, right? So we're thinking those $20, $30 an hour jobs max, right? What would that mean for your business and your growth? And those are the things that are available right now. All right. And here's the advice that I would give everybody that's considering this journey and anybody that's really interested in using them is number one, all right, just like an employee, they're not perfect. Okay. But what they are today, all right, will be 10 times tomorrow. All right. It's the people who adapt now and start at the early stages because statistically in the contracting space, there's only about 10 to 12% of contractors that are actively adapting to and implementing AI. All right. Lots of people are at level one using ChatGPT. I would say it's a much higher percentage. Okay. But very few contractors have gone to the step of creating agents and taken that journey to the next level. And it's purely because it's new. All right. The other thing that can be a unfair advantage for you guys, especially in the early stages, and I want you to look at it this way, is it's not a matter of if at this point, it's a matter of when. All right. Do you want to be the first one armed and using it offensively, or do you want to be playing defense in the future? Okay. What happens when somebody's able to harness even a few of these things and becomes 3 to 4 or 5% more efficient than you are? Okay. How long can you endure that? Okay. So I will also, on the same note, all right, I will speak honestly. Construction is about 25 years behind in technology across the board. All right. So compared to other industries, compared to other markets, we all know this. All right. Construction is very slow to adapt to new changes. Okay, so that's an advantage for anybody that's willing to put themselves out there and be a little bit uncomfortable and take some chances, take some risks when starting to adapt and put these things into their business. Either you're gonna sacrifice your time, right? Or you're gonna sacrifice paying someone to do this. But again, long-term value, long-term understanding, and being able to adapt to it sooner is only going to pay off. Any questions before I continue on here? Anybody? No? Okay. Quiet group today. Again, another why I'm using these examples is agents are unique, I would say, in terms of problem solving. They've brought a new opportunity to the table that is more mainstream now. I want you to really think to yourself, what are the lowest tasks that you have in your business? What are the things that, again, should be done? All right, the monotonous tasks. What are the things that are the 20, 30, $40 even an hour tasks that you have that you could possibly be doing in the admin role, in the sales role? What are the things that, again, can add to your business that are going to improve your outcome? All right. If you can start from a place of that and focus on getting one of these things implemented, all right, you're going to find that you gain a lot more confidence. All right. You gain a better understanding. What you do not want to do, especially if you're starting out, and this is what I'm seeing a ton of, and I want to nip it in the bud and really address it very carefully, is I see a lot of guys that are chasing shiny objects, right? They're running around looking at things that, again, can have a lot of false promises, a lot of offers out there that are incomplete or just purely flat out lying. And it's sucking up their time, and they're actually losing time from their profitable business chasing these things around. Okay. So, how do we combat that? How do we stay focused in a very obvious shiny object? I think it's the biggest shiny object I've ever seen in my life. All right. How do we stay focused and make sure that we're making business driven decisions and not just chasing shiny objects? All right. So think about your business and pick one thing that I've shared with you. And I would focus entirely on getting that thing up, operating, and functioning. Don't feel like we have to have all of it at once because the truth be told, we implement AI with our clients very slowly. It does not make up for bad business. It does not make up for an undisciplined business. Okay. It is not going to suddenly make you more accountable, more financially literate. Okay. It can assist, right? But it's not going to cover up the foundation of your business. All right. In fact, it will accelerate the problems that come with being undisciplined and financially illiterate. All right. Not knowing our numbers, not practicing good, solid business principles. So again, I want you guys to think about it as an opportunity. All right. Yes. But it's also it should be buying you back time so that you can focus on the more important things that you've been avoiding in your business. All right. So again, if it's getting better control of your operations, if it's having a better reporting system, if it's helping you to be a better business person in general and buying back your time so that you can focus on those higher level tasks, that is the way you want to look at it. Okay. I want you to think about the time that you get back. That is the best ROI that I can point you towards. So again, when you start thinking of a lot of what's being offered out there, you want to immediately think of, is this going to save me an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours? Is this going to save my staff time? Okay. More than I'm going to replace an entire role. All right. Because it does take time and there is a learning curve to these things. Okay. And again, when we're looking for reasons to continue doing something, all right, we want to point ourselves in the right direction and getting the best return in our time or having a measurable financial ROI with these. Okay. The bigger thing is do not try to do it all at once. Okay. Too many guys that we're working with now that have tried to do this stuff all on their own and tried to put too many things in at once, and it just turns into a big mess. All right. And you end up more stressed out and more overwhelmed than when you had no AIs at all. Okay. Again, in terms of a 90-day plan, does anybody have any intentions of using any AI over the next 90 days? There's got to be somebody in here. Implement my claw to manage email using to help with estimating exact rate software. Oh, that's very interesting. Cool. Yep, that's a very good use of that. Now, I'm curious if you're using OpenClaw, what has you using that particular one? What's been the benefits for you? Nope. Okay. Most advertised, yeah, for sure. For sure. Again, you're going to see that kind of it's essentially an orchestrator, which allows you to have multiple agents. One thing that I would highly recommend is that you be very safe and secure, especially with anything around your estimating or financial data, because I was sharing this last week. All it takes is one injection code, and those open claws start spewing your company information like nothing else before. So again, making sure you're using good, safe practices, and if you have the ability to, getting it to an off server application is so far the safest method that we found. All right. So again, careful with the ML or SSMs and everything else in terms of what you share with it. Your data is public. So anybody that's doing quotes and estimating, right, or sharing their financial documents or anything like that, be very careful there. Make sure that you're putting in good security measures. All right. Anybody here using Claude? I don't know why I can't see my messages. How many of you guys here are using Claude? Bluehost, yeah, that's a good platform for that. Eventually, you'll want to again get on an off server, make sure that everything's encrypted there for your own protection, especially if you've given OpenClaw access to anything besides its own email and stuff like that, because it can be manipulated to share sensitive information for sure. Using Claude, mostly desktop. Cool. So I want to give you guys an easy, quick win today. All right. If you have Claude subscription, Claude has a very similar feature to OpenClaw that's relatively easy to set up. Okay. And it's called Cowork. Right. So if you download Claude Desktop, you get access to Cowork. All right. Within Cowork, you can give it automated tasks to do. Okay. So a lot of these simple things that you want to get set up, and you can connect that cowork relatively safely for the most part to tools. So again, if you're using JobTread or you're using Go High Level or any of those CRM and a project management system, you can relatively easy connect those. Okay, and you can get it to do some of these things that I'm describing for you. So again, if you're just starting out, I would suggest that anybody that's just beginning uses their Claude Cowork as a tool to get some of the automated processes done. Okay? And a great place there too is your hiring. So you can almost get the whole thing through on Cowork, any of the automations. So again, in terms of managing ROI and setting expectations and putting your energy where it's going to have return, right? How many of you guys have had a bad hire? When was the last time you had a bad hire? I always feel like this is a loaded question. Anybody had any bad hires? Okay. So once again, if we were looking at strictly an ROI return, there's only two places that we can actively measure our returns, right? So we would call this direct response marketing or direct response recruiting, all right? And by the way, I feel that hiring and recruiting is exactly the same as marketing and sales. We should actually treat them the exact same way, same platform, same tools. And if you get good at both, all right, you will probably grow your construction business very securely and profitably. All right, because we always need those two resources. Cool. All right. So again, I think we'll probably wrap this baby up early if nobody has any questions. If you are looking to get some more information on AI or a game plan together, of course we would love to assist you in doing that. Even if we can't directly help you, we will send you in the right direction. Happy to have a quick call with you if you're looking to get a bit more information on how you can implement. And hopefully I've left you today with the ability to start your journey if you haven't, all right, and take the first steps. So again, it's not as scary as it may seem. It's more about just getting started. All right. So my suggestion to everybody for your quick win today, Claude and Cowork. We might do some training on this in a little bit as well. I didn't see too many people were actually using it. We'll start with that as being your quick win for today. Awesome. All right, guys. I appreciate your time and we'll talk to you later.